Chili Tony here, November 24th, 2025. There's a Clean Water Act public meeting at 10:30, and it is 10:30 right now. I'm going in to check it out. It's on hold. Okay, going. That's right. What? I don't need any assistance, thank you.
Smooth some of our procedures, modify some of our procedures. There are few changes to our rates, our proposed rates and assessments for next year, other than just capturing costs. We're happy to talk through any of our methodologies. Scott and I worked, as you might recall, 2 years ago to refresh the rate model so that it was more fairly distributing the costs of operating the system across all users. And so the spreadsheet that you're seeing here, or the table here, represents next year's proposed assessments, and you can see the components of how they're generated, and we have all of the background data for what we actually paid for things and how that's being calculated and distributed across our proposed rate adjustments.
And just to, since we're looking at math in a spreadsheet, so distributing the operating costs, and then how or are you accumulating capital investment or ER&R into this rate structure, or are we just covering operating costs?
No, that's a great question. Thanks for the question. So what we do is we take all of the operating costs, pool them, we pull out the, to the best of our ability, the way our contracts are structured, the rate costs that are directly attributable to the restaurants and other commercial services within town. So those costs are all distributed, and then you see we have specific rates proposed for the cafe, the Longhorn Bread Farm, and so on. Those are those with the unique cost drivers, and we have a reserve fund that we're collecting, and the reserve fund is being generated based on impact fees. You can see in our base ERU calculation here that $64,000 is the annual cost divided by the 64 total customers gets us to $1,005 in cost distributed to all assessed properties. Then, based on the flow within our code and as our ERU is calculated, it's based on flow. BOD stands for biological oxygen demand. Basically, it's a component of a typical sewer or wastewater measure, and FOG, which is fat, oils, and grease. Based on our system being effectively a large septic system with distribution of clean wastewater to ground, which is where it differs a little bit from the septic system, or conventional septic system. Biological oxygen demand and fat, oil, and grease are really tough. Particularly fat, oil, and grease have the impact of disabling the biological function of the system. So that is, in our opinion, the highest impact, second highest impact relative to the BOD. But those two components then are used as multipliers on the commercial systems, and it's in that impact fee multiplier that we're generating our reserve fund. So each resident pays, I hate to do math in my head while staring at a spreadsheet here, but about $150, $145, and the commercial users, based on the strength of their flow, which is measured 4 times a year, so quarterly, and then average for the course of the year to get a multiplier for them.
Okay, great. Other questions, Commissioner Lisa?
Yeah, just thank you very much for yourself and Scott stepping up in leadership, and I know the committee's done a great job over the years to deal with the different things. Just to remind everybody, this is the pre-set up boundaries, and so I know like Terramar, the restaurant and so forth, they're not in the boundary, correct?
Correct. My understanding of Terramar is that they're outside our boundary and that they have managed their wastewater in two ways. I don't wanna misspeak.
It's basically, you have to have a set inside the town of Edison or a hookup, and that's what these fees are. And some of the ones outside are not paying.
Jack Moore just making
Yeah, nobody
eye
outside
contact
the physical
and
boundary is paying into the.
head gestures to somebody
And
over
so
here.
To add to your point, Commissioner Leeson, we have connections that are active connections, and they're all being charged to this, or being proposed to be charged to this ERU. There are, if you look at this last line here, we've got the ADUs and the outstanding shares. So at the inception of the system that Alan mentioned, there was an opportunity for everybody within that geographic boundary to buy into the system. Several of those customers, or potential customers, purchased shares and paid for those shares up front with the intent to potentially connect, but they actually had a functioning septic system on site. So those 11 outstanding shares are continued to be charged an administrative fee. Those folks could potentially connect to our system, but currently we only, well, to answer the question, we will only charge somebody who's inside our boundary.
And that's part of the permit process in pharmacology. You only have so many gallons or homes or whatever can hook up to it.
Yes, the ecology permit focuses on capacity, and so we're capacity limited under that.
Thank you very much.
Before we go off this topic, can you just clarify in the printed resolution, this might be a staff question, there's a subset that says future hookups, $120 for each parcel, and there's 7 parcel numbers listed, but you say there's 11 who are paying in, who are available to connect at some future point?
You're pointing out what is, I'm gonna call it a discrepancy. We, in digging deep into all of the numbers the last couple of years, Scott and I, having also gone through the county assessors, we see in the county assessors records that there are 11 11 outstanding shares. We have.
Is a share equivalent to a parcel? We measure property in parcels, or is a share different?
Well, that's a great question.
Oh,
Yes, a
okay.
share is different,
Okay.
in that what was share, or what was the other thing? Future hookup. So future hookup or share was created at the time the system was created, and we have clear records of 7 of those outstanding hookups being outstanding and therefore available for hookup. When going through the assessor's record and to true up the math here, we see that there are 11 future hookups being charged to properties within our boundary. So on our to-do list for next year is to determine, has anybody been paying when they don't actually have a recorded share to their parcel and therefore the right to connect. If that turns out to be true, we do have the reserve funds to eventually refund any difference in pay of $120. And that could go back a couple of years.
But could the converse be true? Could there actually be 11 future hookups?
Could be, yeah. Could be.
But you won't be able to determine that in a timely enough way to affect this rate setting for next year.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so you need the time to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you must
Yeah, and the
understand
other
that
thing is this is a property tax assessment, and that's why you have to get it in by the end of the year, so when they get their property tax bill
Yeah.
in October, it's increased.
Yeah, after, just our calendar has been adjusting over the years to pull our rate calculation time earlier. That means that we've asked our maintenance folks to get out and do the testing earlier so that we have the testing to generate the multipliers, the impact fee multipliers. Even at that, Scott, did we start looking at the rates for this year in July? And then meeting regularly to review the rates at the Edison Sub-Area Advisory Board monthly meetings. do the math, do the back checks of the math. And that it was in that process and that window of time in working with Lavelle and Allen, and then internally, we determined that there's that differential between the assessor's records and our record.
Commissioner Browning, questions, comments?
Yes, a system failure is one of our huge concerns, our concerns as well as yours. And I know that the grease, the fog, the fast oiling grease, are we checking the restaurants regularly? Are there, so
They're being regularly checked.
Separators working?
Yeah, they're being regularly checked, and if you were to look at this year's versus last year's assessments, you'll maybe notice that the total value that we're asking to assess is lower. We've adjusted some of our operating policies to better align with the underlying code that developed our system. So from that standpoint, not only are we testing regularly and checking our maintenance provider is checking the sludge and scum levels very regularly, and if they see anything that is problematic, they pump the system, pump those holding tanks at the restaurants, and then immediately charge the restaurant directly for that. So we're not holding those fees and then charging them in subsequent years. So if you were to look year over year, it's going to look like the restaurant numbers came down, but in fact they've just already paid for things that historically we've carried until the next assessment.
Okay, Mr. Mankel, you're listed as one of the speakers. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I'm predominantly here for support, but I can speak to the discrepancy factor. One of the things that happened was a large parcel out there that had future shares was subdivided into 4 pieces, and each of those 4 pieces received a share in the assessor's docket. And so that's one area that we're going to look at first, is that did that split the assessment, because the property split just tack on that extra share. So that's one thing that adds to that conversation, I suppose.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, and do we have anybody that joined us online?
Staff member Jen Johnson.
Okay, so
Just a listener.
Yeah. Okay, so we're here for, this is a public hearing to comment on the annual assessment for the Edison sub-area clean water district to set these rates.
I'd like to make a comment.
Mr. Romano, you're welcome to make a comment and come to the podium. And,
Thank you. Thank you.
public comment is, as you know, 3 minutes.
Well, I'd like you to cease and desist what you guys are doing. John Rose doing illegal water reviews, and my neighbors attacking me again
Mr. Romano, this is.
over my water lines that are laying in my front yard that they ripped out, that Donald A. Lennox admitted ripping out. My neighbors behind me, how can they legally do that? And then the cops do nothing. When I call the sheriffs, they do absolutely nothing but make it sound like I'm the one doing shit. No.
Mr. Romano,
So,
do you have any
cease and
comment?
desist,
Do you have
please.
any comment on
Thank
that?
you very much. Yeah, lower my taxes, motherfuckers.
Thank you, Mr. Romano.
Yeah, you're all guilty of criminal acts, fraud. That's right. I'm posting this right now. Make every public comment I can make to, because this is bull crap. Now I'm going down to the courthouse to figure out what this neighbor has filed on me fraudulently, illegally, using the sheriff's department. Yep. Jack Moore doesn't know nothing about the water. Why was he in there? And then those people, the other people over there, were the water task force. Yeah. And those 6 parcels that were made up and dispersed, and they've got bought the shares. That's I believe that's in my area, and they sent me, Department of Ecology, a stakeholder deal that I missed a meeting. And I'm going to go down to the assessors, ask them about the 11 properties, that are on their list. Anyway, I'm going to pause it. Yeah, everybody, Jack Moore making weird facial expressions and nods to somebody in there. So I'll have to request the video of that. And because they're plotting and planning something. Obviously. Alexis Oles, Skagit County arbitrator, or used to be, now North City Law. Neighbors behind me filing false reports, filing false papers to the district courts. Anyway, long enough video. Like, hate, subscribe, all that disclaimer stuff. This is not legal advice. Don't do what I do. And have a great day, everybody.